Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexander Gordon-Johans, and today, at long last, I've been working on this for quite a while. We are gonna be doing a dramatic reading. I don't know why I said we. It's just me. It's just Alex. Yeah, I am going to be doing a dramatic reading of Laura, Queen of Earth. My now 28,445 word long podquisition fanfic also doubles as an introduction to the world of the Farshnook, the Logicios, and the Sylphs. There will be a video, possibly more, talking about the deconstruction of this. Incidentally, yes, I have a genetic condition, and I'm only just now getting the testosterone I need to, function. And as a result, there may be some voice cracks. I apologize for that. It may also explain why why there are a lot of buts. Basically, why there are an awful lot of buts later on. Also, fair warning, like, this shit gets dark. Like, this is not safe for work. This gets dark. Like, there was genuinely a scene that, as I wrote it, made me feel sick. But I kinda had to do it for the characters and the stakes. So, fair warning, gets dark. There's gonna be some acknowledgements in the thing, but I have to say, right off the bat, sorry, Gavin. Very sorry. Did not mean for you to end up kind of as misrepresented in a negative way as perhaps you might accidentally have ended up being represented. So sorry about that. You are awesome. And so, yeah, there is a chance that feminists might want to hate on me for this, because, as I say, lots and lots of buts, and for reasons that are explained within the story. But yeah, I will understand if there is some legitimate criticism that is just basically, why are so many women being treated like that? Yeah, fair enough. As I say, weird time at the moment. There will be a discussion video kind of dissecting just what the fuck I wrote. This video itself, this dramatic reading of Laura Queen, Queen of the Earth, my podquisition fanfic, may actually be split up into two parts because this shit is long, and because there's actually quite a good place to split it. I might have to split it more, but basically, as far as I'm concerned, if it doesn't go over 3 hours, I'm not going to split it, because fuck it, the co-optional podcast is 3 hours, and yeah, 3 hours is a long stint for me, but fuck it. If Total Biscuit can goddamn do it, I can goddamn do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I will now introduce you to the world of Laura, Queen of Butts. Laura, Queen of Earth. Quasi-canonical podquisition fanfic by Alexander Gordon-Johans, dedicated to the hosts of the podquisition: Laura, Queen of Mirth, Jim fucking Sterling Son, Gavin, Miracle of Sound Done. Let's go. Nine Worlds Geek Fest 2016 in London. Jim Sterling and Laura Queen, Queen of Butts, are having a private conversation in an empty room. Gavin enters. Long, flowing brown hair. Devil horns as he enters. Oh man, that was so awesome. I mean, honestly, Charlie McDonald, what an amazing singer. Regenerate me. Come on, it was awesome. And I think they like me so much they want me to be in their band. I'm going to be in the Doctor Who band. How cool is that? Laura hurriedly wipes her eyes. Jim says genially, "That's really awesome, Gavin." Gavin pauses, studying the scene. Wait, am I interrupting something? Jim tries to placate Gavin. No, honestly, mate, it's fine. Let's grab a drink, shall we? Shit, declares Laura, checking her phone. Jim turns. What? Laura starts showing off footage from her phone. Aliens or Russians or something are vaporising the Houses of Parliament. In fact, not just the Houses of Parliament, the White House, the centre of the EU in Brussels, every national or international governing body on the entirety of planet Earth are being vaporised right now as we speak. Jim and Gavin are horrified but unbelieving. It's not possible! It's just not possible! Then explain to me who has the money and the power to bribe all the world's press into believing that this is actually possible, says Laura. I mean, just look at this. Jim and Gavin watch a YouTube video play on Laura's phone. A young white man in a red shirt is speaking into his phone camera as he walks through London. Hello, my name is Tom Scott, and yes, this is really happening. The Houses of Parliament, and indeed every other national and international governing body, are being vaporised. But vaporised by what and how? Well, the information is sketchy, as I hope you'll appreciate, because this technology is well in advance of our own, but there are some things we can be certain of. These are being vaporised from orbit. All the evidence makes that obvious, but so far there are no UFOs or spy satellites to be found. But if they have this technology, then it is not inconceivable to believe that they have some way to fool our technology. I mean, we can already fake most things pretty well given the right software and time. So it's not hard to imagine a world that has software that can effectively Photoshop on the fly before we on the ground get the data. So what are they doing? What is the vaporising? Well, scientists don't know, but some rudimentary experiments have been done, and it seems that individual atomic particles are just vanishing, literally ceasing to exist, and this is happening slowly. There are still people in the Houses of Parliament and elsewhere, and they are dying. Make no mistake, they are. It could take hours, it could take days, but they are being whittled away piece by piece, randomly. Scientists think that when the beams are shut off, if they ever are, there won't be dust or air particles left. I mean, yes, obviously, our atmosphere will fill the vacuum created, but the point is that these beams will literally leave nothing left. And people have tried to escape. An MP from Merseyside tried to leave, and he was vaporised in a matter of minutes. It wasn't a pleasant way to go. At this point, there are serious discussions about just mercy killing everyone inside because, well, there can't be much worse things to suffer than very slow atomic disintegration and annihilation. So what are they doing? So why are they doing this? Well, we don't know. Nobody knows, but it's not hard to imagine why. Think about this. Vaporising all the Earth's national and international governing bodies over an agonisingly slow amount of time so as to decapitate the Earth's political structure overnight and display your might and power in a way that will scare off any attempts at rebellion? The man points the camera at the Houses of Parliament and the vast green disintegration beam shooting up into the sky. It's the end of the world. But the good news is we've been preparing for this moment for a long time. Grab your zombie survival bag and get ready to fucking move. It's Judgment Day, and God is fucking pissed. The video finishes. They stand in silence for a few moments, contemplating what was said. Jim is first to speak. Shit! Gavin shakes his head. I bet it's fake. I bet this is just mass hysteria and everything is fine. You know what a circle jerk the news is, and besides, he's just a YouTuber. Jim and Laura stare at him. You are aware that we're all YouTubers, right? Says Jim. Well, yeah, says Gavin. And that's how I know it's horseshit. I know how unreliable we are. It'll probably be fine. Jim says, actually, you know what? Gavin probably has a point. We don't want to cause a panic. Laura nods. Yeah, I mean, we're in London. We really don't want to cause a panic. Laura tweets, don't worry about the news. There's too much invested in keeping shit running, and even if there isn't, I'll be queen, and you can all be my loyal subjects. The trio decide to get blisteringly drunk. They meet in the lobby the next afternoon. Jim says irritably, I can't help but notice that the apocalypse has not yet been cancelled. Yeah, says Gavin sheepishly. My mum called me last night. The Irish governing body was vaporised too. This shit is legit. Laura is studying her phone. Guys, I think we might have another problem. I appear to have become a revolutionary leader overnight. How the fuck am I going to fight off whatever this is? Then the screaming starts. Jim runs towards the screaming. Laura and Gavin follow reluctantly in his wake. Mate, what the fuck are you going to do? Asks Gavin nervously. I know how to fight, says Jim. And besides, somebody's got to fucking do something. The trio break through the crowd to find a tall man in strange clothes, injecting women with some kind of needle gun before throwing them into some kind of impossible sack that never gets full. Jim charges into the man, knocking him off balance. He pushes the man and tries to trip him. For the moment, he's too stunned to fight back. Jim throws a right hook and knocks and drops the guy. Well, Queen, what do you suggest we do now? Asks Jim. Laura is freaking the fuck out. She is turning this way and that as demons wrestle inside her mind until finally she declares, I want this man stripped, restrained and monitored. I want to see what we can make of his tech and if we can use it. We're at a convention. We should be able to do something. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In the political apocalypse, the woman who keeps her head is queen. Now move, cries Gavin. Come on, people, you heard your queen. Move! And that's how it begins. A sarcastic tweet, a crowning moment of heroism and a cool head in a crisis. From there, command was easier. Just a matter of answering questions and preventing fuck-ups. Within weeks, there was a command chain set up and rough approximations of the kind of forces that all successful countries need. There were fuck-ups and mistakes naturally, but they kept the people at the convention alive and calm and regularly captured these strange invaders. Laura was sat in her chosen throne room, the manager's office at the hotel. She was sat in an executive office chair behind a big desk, reading news reports on her phone. Behind her, a huge window looked out onto a massive road and the landing strips of Heathrow Airport. Jim Sterling was sat on a stool and using a scrounged pad of paper and pencil to write the script for the latest and possibly last Jimquisition. There's a knock at the door, and the guard says, There's a woman here to see you, ma'am. She says she has knowledge of the enemy and wants to help. Jim looks up from his work to Laura expectantly. Laura puts down her phone and shrugs. Let her in. Jim gets up from his chair and stands protectively before Laura. In walks a 6-foot-tall, fair-skinned, svelte woman with long blonde hair. She wears practical trainers, jogging bottoms, a t-shirt, hoodie and backpack. The woman studies Laura for a moment, then says, So you're Queen, huh? I like the hair. Blue is very you. Let's talk. Laura glares at the moment. Who are you? The woman looks bored as she says, My name is Lucy Dance. I was brought up fighting robots in a convoy across deep space, but latterly an eldritch abomination who was reincarnated as a person, then recreated as a robot duplicate, has sent me off to act as the great wandering prophet, inspiring revolution and ensuring that every single one of the 100 million universes that have suffered what you have stand a good chance to fight back. Say that a lot, do you? Asks Laura, noting the boredom in Lucy's voice. Yes, says Laura. Yes, says Lucy icily. Every universe is the same fucking deal. Shall we skip to the part where I help you lead the revolution? Laura stares at her in amazement. Where are you hiding the brass balls you seem to be packing? You wander into my domain and think you can start ruling my empire. Lucy smiles sadistically. Jim says, my queen has a point. How do we know we can trust you? Lucy studies Jim. A big guy with a penchant for leather, scruffy hair and the signs of having been in more than a few scrapes. And you're her bodyguard, are you? Jim frowns. I guess you could say that. I consider myself more a concerned friend, ready to do what she can't. A weapon, then, says Lucy, with a smile. Jim stiffens at that. I suppose you could say that. Hit me then, says Lucy. If I am a trick or a trap or even just some mad woman desperate for control, hit me as hard as you can. If you're right, the survival of your queen and her people is far more important than one dead woman. Beat me, kick me, break my bones and crush my heart in your hands. Bite me, bitch. Jim looks to Laura. Laura nods. Jim throws a punch. Lucy dodges the punch, trips Jim up and puts him in an armlock and whispers, if I wanted your queen dead, there would be nothing you could do to stop me. Lucy abandons Jim and approaches Laura. She goes down on one knee and bows her head respectfully. My queen, I understand your reservations. I will accept all your precautions. I am your humble servant, and I only wish to help you. Laura thinks about this for a moment and says, let's see your butt then. Lucy nods respectfully and turns around to show Laura her posterior. That is a fine butt, says Laura appreciatively. If I may see that butt more often, I will gladly accept your counsel. Lucy smiles. Well, yours isn't too bad either, and I must say that I can think of worse ways to save the world than being the royal butt person. Are you flirting with me? Asks Laura. Lucy laughs. Do you want me to? Laura smiles mischievously, then says, no, I have a girlfriend. Lucy says innocently, well, there's nothing wrong with looking, is there? And anyway, I'm game if you want to involve her. Laura frowns. No, I must not exploit my power. On your feet, champion. Lucy stands and turns. My liege. I will have a room set up for you, and then we will meet officially, says Laura. Jim groans. Is no one going to help me? Lucy laughs and pulls him to his feet. Sorry, old chap, time's a-wasting. And then she was gone. When Lucy entered again, a number of people were sat around a big table. Laura stood up as Lucy entered. Our guest of honour arrives. I trust you found your sleep pleasant? Lucy shrugged. I've slept in worse places. Shall we begin? Laura said, yes, but before we do, I think it would be wise to introduce people. This fetching blonde woman to my left is my girlfriend. You may call her Eve. She is here because, well, you're a 6-foot-tall blonde woman with a fantastic butt. To her left is Gavin Dunn. He makes music based on video games. He keeps people sane. Then we have Max. He is our technology expert. Then we have Ivana, our martial arts expert. Opposite her is James, our resident doctor. To his left is Hilary, our supplies expert. And, well, you know Jim. Lucy smiles. Pleased to meet you all. So, says Laura, tell us what you know. My pleasure, says Lucy, and she starts to circle the table with her hands held behind her back. Our enemy are the Lodicios. They are nerds, individuals chosen for their adaptability and ability to learn and improvise. They travel the multiverse, stealing technology, learning what they can from it and integrating it into their own. They are genre-savvy, superpowered by technology, and utterly misogynistic. How can you be so sure? Asks Gavin. They exploit a creature known as the albino sylph squirrel. It is an artificially created creature whose combined excretions can be blended to make different types and strengths of sylph pills. A sylph pill can do anything from pausing the aging process and making someone more obedient and submissive to shrinking them and allowing them to reproduce asexually. The Logicios are unique not because they run their empire on sylphs or slavery, but because only human women who have become sylphs are kept as slaves and pets by their empire. Oh, and they are almost always Caucasian white. Clearly these idiots think it isn't slavery if it isn't happening to black folk, says Lucy. She pauses behind Laura's chair. Laura asks, what chance do we have? Good question, says Lucy, as she starts to circle the table again. The Logicios have not yet been deposed because they are too useful to the multiverse. They patrol it, keeping any threats to the multiverse at bay, and recently they have been involved in a forever war with the Septaginoids. The Septaginoids are the ultimate pedants, rules lawyers incarnate. They are beings made of pure logic inside great robotic exteriors, and they absolutely believe that the multiverse is a mistake that shouldn't exist. Technically they are right, of course, but nobody but them actually cares. Their sole purpose in life is to find a way to create the final solution that will render the multiverse one great big logical void. They only have to succeed once, and everyone dies. Laura is aghast. How does that help us get rid of the Logicios? We are a sideshow, a distraction, an attempt to gather reinforcements while they still have time. If we can fight back hard and fast, they'll surrender because they can't risk losing troops to hold the land, says Lucy. Jim says, so to win the revolution, we have to bloody the nose of the guys preventing us all from going boom? I have to wonder what the point is. If they've got a plan and they need us, fucking let them win! Lucy nods. I can understand that perspective. So you're okay dying at the front lines of a war that can only be conclusively won by the bad guys. Oh, and by the way, every woman in this room, every woman in this world, and the other 100 million worlds will be drugged, stripped of their clothes and rights, treated as pets if they're lucky, eaten if they're not, and condemned to an eternity of pointless slavery if they really have it rough. Jim swallows. No. The Farshnook, that's the guy who sent me on this mission, by the way. The Farshnook told me that I have an opportunity here to not just fight for the individual freedoms of myself and my people, but for the ability to offer an alternative to the Logicios, says Lucy. You see, you are just fighting for survival, I am fighting for victory. 100 million universes may be a drop in the bucket compared to the multiverse, but it is one hell of a head start in forming an alternative force capable of one day deposing the Logicios without threat to the multiverse. So, what are you proposing? Asks Laura. Supposing we do win, what happens then? The united civilizations of the multiverse, says Lucy with pride. We ask only a small tithe of soldiers, engineers, money and equipment, and we fight the good fight alongside the Logicios in return for certain diplomatic protections and technology sharing. And then we grow a multiversal empire. Lucy turns and stares at Laura across the table. You are queen of this rock. I am queen of the multiverse. Laura was blown away. Here was someone who knew what they were doing. How do you treat your lesser queens? Laura said suggestively. How do you want to be treated? Eve glares at Laura. Laura coughs. People fill her in. Jim Sterling begins. We have apprehended half a dozen of the enemy, stripped them, restrained them, and contained them under guard. Attempts at interrogation have typically not gone well, so we are keeping them under guard for now. Gavin says, in terms of morale, people are feeling reasonably chill, but there is a definite sense that things are going to get a whole lot worse. I mean, I dread to think what will happen when we run out of booze. Max says, we've tried analysing the tech we've recovered, and honestly, we've not got a clue. We've had better luck setting up a radio station to let people know they can come here for help. Ivana says, attempts to train up an army are going better than expected, but we are a long way from putting down a riot, never mind the enemy. Jane says, So far, we aren't having any serious issues to deal with, and attempts to train up nurses are going well. If something happens, we will at least be able to make a fair attempt at keeping people alive. Hillary says, the raiding parties are keeping us topped up for now, but we really need to start farming. I have no idea what we'll do when we run out of blue roll. Well, you're doing better than I expected, says Laura, and I do think I can help you. But it is going to get rough. Jim, Laura, can I have a word in private? Jim stands up, and Laura declares, end of meeting, bugger off. As people leave, Lucy approaches Jim and Laura. Eve glares at Lucy. Okay, says Laura, clicking her tongue apprehensively. Let's do this. Laura strides over to Eve, towering over her. You got a problem with me? Eve snarls, stay away from my girl. Lucy smiles radiantly. Eve, if that is your name, I don't care about you. I don't care about Laura. I care about the 100 million universes that will suffer if I screw this up. If I have to fuck her and kill you to do my duty, I will without hesitation. I don't want to, but I will if I have to. Trust me and you can enjoy me and command me. Stand in my way and die, one way or another. I mean, maybe you do get lucky and you do kill me. Congratulations! You have just condemned yourself and Laura to slavery and death. Laura asks, is there a problem? Nah, says Lucy breezily. I was just explaining that I'm as much Eve's servant as I am yours. Oh, that's cute, says Laura. I mean, you have to admit, she has a great bum. Oh yeah, says Eve confidently. Rotte, great ass. Lucy smiles radiantly. Thank you. I hope that one day you'll both get to enjoy it. Yes, says Eve. I think I should enjoy ramming you in the ass. And with that, Eve leaves the room. Laura is amazed. Wow, you are good. I try, says Lucy. When they are alone, Jim asks, so what did you want to talk about? The prisoners, you see, says Lucy. I think I know what they were, and if I'm right, then I can drastically improve your chances of survival. But while we examine those, I need you, Laura, to assemble a team of people you don't mind seeing naked every day and who don't mind dying for you in the greater good. Laura stares at Lucy. What are you talking about? I'm a good queen. And sometimes people have to die for the greater good, says Lucy. You need to assemble some lambs because if I'm right, there is going to be a slaughter. Laura is stunned by the remark. Jim says, well, right. Do you want to see those prisoners or what? Lead the way, good sir, says Lucy. Jim led the way into an empty room where a prisoner lay with his hands cable-tied behind his back in a room guarded by two men. Lucy entered and strode over to the prisoner. Well, well, to what do I owe this honour? Asked the prisoner. Who are you? Asked Lucy. Why should I tell you? Snarled the prisoner. Jim snarled. Do you want me to give you a hint? Lucy shook her head. There's no need for that, Jim. She hunkered down on her haunches before the prisoner, so she was looking up at him. You'll tell me what I want to know, because you think you can play with my head, and who knows, maybe you can. Maybe you learned well from the Tharshnuk well enough to make me want to obey you, but I doubt that. I mean, if you could manipulate me into being a humble servant with just your voice, you wouldn't have got caught, would you? The prisoner studied Lucy. Okay, I'll talk. What do you want to know? Lucy smiled. Thank you. Who are you? The prisoner sighed. Reginald Humphreys. I'm a snatcher. I'm the advance guard of the harvest. My job is to go down, drag women and throw them into a bag ready for processing. I'm just supposed to clear the streets. I'm not important. And what did you do before being a snatcher? Asked Lucy. I just graduated, okay? Said the prisoner. They said, before we give you a second, you need to go down there and clear space for the harvesters. Lucy nodded. Thank you. Lucy stood up and said to Jim, "It's as I thought. This man is a Logisio. I want to see his belongings, but for now, one thing I can recommend is that he is a ready supply of renewable meat. His regenerative abilities defy physics, and you don't need to feed him." "Oh, so you're gonna starve me and carve me up for food every time I heal? How the fuck is that moral?" jeered the prisoner. "It isn't," said Lucy. "It's survival. You will live, and your suffering will allow others to live." Jim said, "You can't be serious." Lucy stared into Jim's soul. "I've been fighting plastic clones since I was a child. War is hell. It makes you do terrible things to survive. Suck it up and keep you alive, or die a noble, valiant, pointless death and contribute to the food supply. Those are your options." Lucy left the room. The prisoner laughed at Jim's existential doubt. That focused his mind, and he followed after her. Jim led Lucy to where the prisoner's belongings were kept. "We captured 7 of them," explained Jim, "so there ought to be 7 sets of equipment, concluded Lucy. Jim found a gun and said, "This is what the fucker was using on the woman." "Right," said Lucy. "We'll have to test that out when Laura has the lambs picked out." Jim frowned. "You're seriously going to test that out?" "Sylphs are useful," said Lucy. "And they can be kept and exploited humanely. Then again, this could equally be a mind control drug. Liquid death, or even liquid plastic to turn them into toys. Logisios can be sick fuckers." "How is any of that an argument for using this?" asked Jim. "The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few," said Lucy. "If we can't keep the Empire viable, it doesn't matter if we kill someone or not." Jim shook his head in disbelief. Lucy found a gun she recognized and laughed. "Brilliant!" "What?" asked Jim. "This is a memory gun," said Lucy. "And you have 7 of them, not to mention enough Logisios that one of them might be willing to pass on his knowledge for a cushier position. Again, a Logisio could easily use this to torture someone, but this is why you have lambs. You no longer need to send someone to college and university. You simply record the memories of someone who knows, point, and click. I'm taking one of these." Jim stared at Lucy, amazed. Lucy lit up at the sight of the jackets. "Oh yes! Jackpot!" "It's a jacket, Lucy," said Jim, flabbergasted by her enthusiasm. Lucy laughed and reached her hand into the jacket pockets. "I told you, Jim, the Logisios are addicted to sylphs. They turn them like others smoke cigarettes, and that means..." Lucy pulled out in quick succession a large jar of white pills, a large multi-pack of bikinis, and a large multi-pack of collars and leashes. "This is a farm ready to go. Just add volunteers." Jim frowned. "How did all that fit in those pockets?" "Logic is a living force. It can be reprogrammed," said Lucy. And then she turned her attention to the sacks. "Okay, we've got what we need. Let's go." Lucy strides into Laura's office to find 30 women between the ages of 20 and 30 standing to attention. "Good," says Lucy. "You've got me some lambs." Yes," says Laura, and she tries to make introductions. "This is..." Lucy snaps, "Don't tell me their names!" Laura is stunned into silence. "Sorry," says Lucy. "That was harsh, but I have to be able to kill and dissect every one of these lambs. I do not want to know their names." Jim answers Laura's accusatory stare. "Yeah, she's like that. Miss Cold Pragmatism 2016. "Now," says Lucy, commandingly, "I need 4 lambs to follow me outside, and they may not return. You can volunteer, or I can pick you." A short, skinny woman in hipster jeans with blue highlights steps forward. Lucy nods. Exit the room and wait. "Try to run and I'll flay you." The volunteer nods her understanding and calmly strolls out of the room. Laura is amazed. "This is horrible!" "Yep," says Jim. "And this is command." Lucy picks a tall woman with brown hair. She swallows and strides out of out of the door. An overweight woman steps forward, and Lucy nods her to exit. Finally, a ginger woman steps forward. "That's it," says Lucy. "I leave you to the care of your queen. Jim, if you would." Jim nods and strides off with Lucy out the door. They find all 4 of the lambs waiting obediently. Lucy smiles warmly. "Sorry about the theatrics. I have to be cold with them so I don't build up an attachment to them. Any last requests?" The woman in the hipster jeans says, "I appreciate your position, and I accept whatever fate awaits me, but could I have a kiss?" Lucy is taken aback by this. "That's your last request? Really? Well, all right." Lucy leans in and kisses the woman on the lips. "Now, take this pill." Lucy hands the woman a small white pill. "Do you have any water?" asks the woman. "Crunch it," says Lucy. So the woman sticks the pill in her mouth and starts crunching it. "Jim, take her away," says Lucy, and she readies a new pill. The tall woman is given the new pill, likewise told to crunch it, and led off by Jim. The plump woman is jabbed with a needle and sent off. Then the ginger woman is jabbed with the needle. Immediately, the ginger woman starts tearing at her clothes. "Wow, it's hot." "Do you think so?" asks Lucy. Jim hurries over. "Lucy, later," says Lucy, with a wave of her hand, before turning her attention back to the ginger woman before her. "Would you like me to strip you?" "Yes," cries the ginger woman. Lucy obliges. "Tell me when to stop, yeah?" The woman nods. Jim watches as Lucy strips the ginger woman completely naked, layer by layer. Finally, the ginger woman drops onto her hands and knees and says, "What would you have me do, mistress?" Lucy pulls out a collar and leash from her pocket, attaches the collar around the ginger woman's neck, and clips the leash onto the collar. "Honey, be a good, obedient little girl and follow, but don't speak, okay? I'll give you lots of hugs later." Jim stares. Lucy turns her attention back to Jim, with a great big grin plastered across her face. "We'll have to try milking her later. Now, what was it you wanted to say?" Jim blinks and shakes his head. One of them's shrinking." "Fantastic," says Lucy. "Those ones are the best." "Right," says Jim, and he leads Lucy to where he stashed the volunteers. It was a small store cupboard. The plump woman looked utterly terrified as she watched the tall woman burn where she stood. The tall woman was standing silently to attention despite the obvious pain she was enduring. The woman in the hipster jeans was curled up in a corner, utterly chilled out. The tall woman sees Lucy and says, "Whatever you gave me is burning me up inside. It's so hot, every part of my body is on fire. Is there anything you can do to at least put me out of my misery?" "No," says Lucy. "I can save your memories, but that will include the pain you are currently suffering. If I don't save your memories, the person you are now effectively dies. Your body will live on, it will grow again, and it will be a valuable asset to the cause. You'll be like a superhero, but also, to put it bluntly, the fastest growing cattle. We may even be able to milk you and take regular harvests of blood. Do you want to see that day?" The tall woman stares at Lucy. "I can't make that choice." "Then I'm making it for you," says Lucy. And she hands a primed memory gun to the tall woman. "Hold the handle and press record." The tall woman nods and screams. "What the fuck is happening to her?" demands Jim. "She is burning up," says Lucy. "Her body is being rewritten to exist as a humanoid the size of a hamster, and that means all the excess mass has to go somewhere. The memory gun is doing a deep scan of her brain, like being swallowed up by the abyss as you get pins and needles." "Is there anything we can do?" asks Jim. "Leave her in the cupboard and try to ignore the screaming," says Lucy. Jim stares at her. "How can you be so cold?" "I have to be," says Lucy. The woman in the hipster jeans sticks up her hand. Lucy asks testily, "What?" "Well, 2 types of thing were tried. Me and the tall one each crunched pills and she's burning up while I'm not. Fatty over there got injected, and I'm guessing so did Miss Ginger, because I can't help but notice she's naked on the end of a leash. Me and Fatty were the controls, weren't we?" says the woman in the hipster jeans. Lucy says, "Don't Don't call her fatty. She's beautiful. You are right, though. What's your point? Well, what happens to us? Asks the woman in the hipster jeans. Are we humanely put down, or do you have a better idea? Asks Lucy. Well, I was thinking, these logicios, they like to take us right. Well, use me as a bargaining chip to get one on side, and when I'm done, the woman in the hipster jeans looks hopefully at Lucy. I really shouldn't have kissed you, should I? Said Lucy. And she pulls out a collar and hands it to her. Behave, okay? And I'm still considering you disposable. The woman in the hipster jeans gladly secures the collar round her neck. Okay, says Jim, so you and Miss Hipster are cool, but what about the other control? She can keep the tall woman company as she burns, says Lucy, and she leaves the tall woman and the plump woman alone in the darkened cupboard. Jim follows Lucy and her collared women into the kitchen in utter shock. Lucy turns to the woman in the hipster jeans and says, Right, you be silent, do as I say, and stick close to Jim. This could get messy. The woman in the hipster jeans nods and goes to stand beside the blue screened Jim. Lucy bends down to look the ginger woman in the eyes. Honey, I'm gonna do something to you now. There might be some discomfort and some pain, but trust me, okay? The ginger woman nods. Lucy pats her back. Good girl. Then Lucy starts rummaging through cupboards until she finds a pint glass. Lucy takes the glass and holds it beneath the left tit of the ginger woman, and then, starting gently and getting harder, Lucy proceeds to massage and squeeze said tit with her right hand until a white, creamy substance comes shooting forth into the glass. The woman with the hipster jeans gags. Jim is watching the whole thing impassively as his whole life flashes before his eyes and he wonders just how he came to be watching a woman milk another. Lucy holds the pint of milk up and says, Well, come on, disposable woman. Check it's safe to drink. The woman with the hipster jeans frowns, looks Lucy in the eyes and says, My name is Sally. Lucy glares at her. Would you prefer to drink it straight from the teat? Lucy sighs and accepts the milk glass. She takes a large gulp and hands the glass back. She savours the mouthful of milk and swallows it down. How are you feeling? Asks Lucy. Do I need to get a disposable woman Mark II? Sally shrugs. It's milk, slightly sweet, but it's milk. And you definitely don't feel poorly? No fever, itching, or aching anywhere? Confirms Lucy. No, says Sally. I feel fine. Lucy nods. Well, okay then. And she tries the milk. Good stuff. She downs the rest of the milk. Lucy rinses out the glass and rests it on the counter. Then she lifts the ginger woman to her feet and positions her wrist over the glass. You're not doing what I think you are, asks Sally. Get a cloth, says Lucy. If I'm right, she'll clot swiftly, but if I'm wrong, you'll save her life. Sally hurriedly searches cupboards and drawers until she's found a cloth. No need, says Lucy, indicating the glass half filled with blood and the ginger woman's seemingly unmarked wrist. Lucy ponders. Would it be cannibalism for you to drink sylph's blood since you identify as a sylph? Sally picks the option that means she doesn't have to drink blood. Yes it would. I'm a sylph, all right. Lucy gives Sally a wry smile. Okay, but you realise that means you have to wear a bikini. Fine by me, says Sally with a wink. Lucy laughs and kisses Sally on the forehead. Sally, you've won, okay? I officially declare that I give a shit about you. Then she downs the blood. Yep, that's good blood. Lucy stares at the ginger woman's bare ass for a moment. Sally is nervous by the possible implications of that stare. Finally, Lucy declares, I can't do it. I don't need to do it. I've proven she can be milked and bled without consequences. I don't need to butcher her too. Jim cries out elatedly, Oh, thank God you've got a line! Pardon? Says Lucy. I mean the lambs and the Logicio prisoners and the shrinking and the burning and the walking on the leash and then with the milking and the bleeding. Thank God you've stopped short of butchering the poor woman, cries Jim. Lucy tuts. Sally buries her head in Lucy's shoulder, Sally buries her face in Lucy's shoulder in embarrassment. Lucy takes a frying pan out of the cupboard, places it on a hob, squirts some milk into a glass, then pours it into the pan to act like oiled butter. Then she finds a large clean knife and a rolling pin. She sticks the rolling pin in the ginger woman's mouth and instructs, "Bite down when you feel pain, honey." Then Lucy slices off a piece of the ginger woman's arse and fries it in the sylph milk. Once it is cooked, Lucy plates up the hot piece of ass and presents it to Jim Sterling. "Bon appetit, mon capitaine." Jim stares into Lucy's eyes, into her soul, and he lifts up the fried buttlet, sticks it into his mouth, bites, chews, and swallows. "Lovely." Then he thinks for a second and says, "Actually, this is really good, holy shit." "The intoxicating power of the sylph," says Lucy. "They are amazing at everything, including being eaten." The taste reminds Jim of something, and as he stares at the ginger woman, he remembers that this person became surprisingly tasty because of the needle gun sported by the Logicios, who, oh my god, I've just remembered the Logicios would put the people who they inject into their bigger on the inside bags. Lucy's eyes lit up. 7 bags! That is quite the herd of sylphs. "Never mind that," said Jim. "This poor woman has been stuck in those bags for weeks." The 4 of them head into the confiscated items area, and Lucy lifts up a bag. Sally immediately starts climbing inside the bag. Jim asks, "Do you think there's any possibility that they are still alive?" Lucy shrugs. "As I understand the technology, the inside of the bag morphs to the logic you bring with you. Your sense of time should continue inside, and thus they're probably not in a good shape, but if they're sylphs, they could still be alive." Sally disappears inside. 10 seconds pass. Lucy asks, "Sally?" 5 seconds pass. "Sally?" 30 seconds pass. "Right, Jim, hold the bag." Jim jerks for attention. "Yes, Ma." Jim takes the bag from Lucy and holds it open as Lucy reaches her hand into the bag. Lucy is flailing around trying to find purchase. She finds denim, finds one trousered leg, and then another one, and then pulls. Sally slides out of the bag and jerks into motion. "Okay, that was weird." Lucy hugs Sally and kisses her on the forehead. "Oh my god, I'm so glad you're okay. I thought I'd lost you." Sally stares at her. "I thought I was your disposable woman." Lucy avoids the question. "Did you see anything there?" "Well, yeah," says Sally. "A whole bunch of women frozen in time, and then I pulled my feet in." Lucy and Sally say at once, "Those girls are still alive." Jim says, "So that means what exactly?" "That means we need to see the Queen," says Lucy, "because I have a delivery of butts to give her." Lucy kicks open the door to the throne room and strides in, followed by Sally, the sylph, and Jim. Laura stares in utter shock. "Oh, holy fuck, she's naked on a leash." "Yeah," says Jim, "and that's not even the half of it. I have seen things you would not believe." Laura recoils. "But that's not possible. You know what I did for a living." Jim nods. "Oh, I know, and I stand by my statement." Laura explains. Lucy explains. "The lamb on all fours is a sylph. She is utterly obedient, sweet as can be. She can be milked at will, her blood can be drained frequently, and she has a fast enough regenerative ability that her arse can be sliced off and pan-fried almost indefinitely. I present the solution to your food shortage situation." Laura studies the sylph. Can she remember anything about her old life? Can her situation be reversed? "I don't know, and I don't care," says Lucy. "This is food." Laura stares at Lucy. "Well, okay, even supposing I could be so callous. She's one fucking woman. How the fuck am I supposed to keep my people fed and watered with one woman?" Sally throws the sacks at Laura's feet. 7 sacks from 7 logicios, explains Lucy. Each keeps whatever is inside in a state of temporal stasis, and each was used to store women who had just been injected with the same stuff this lamb was given. And that's just to start with. You still have the 7 guns capable of doing this to more people, and I'm certain the substance is replicatable. Laura lifts up a sack. So you're telling me that if I stick my hand inside here, I can pull out a woman who will immediately strip and allow me to milk her? More or less, says Lucy. Laura looks to Jim. A little help. Jim rushes over and holds up a sack. Laura reaches her hand inside the sack. She finds a leg, she pulls, and the temporal stasis allows the woman to slide out. She's tall and blonde. What the fuck happened? She asks. Where am I? It's all right, says Laura, helping her to her feet. You're safe. We rescued you. My name is Laura. I'm sort of queen around here. How are you? Weird, she says. I'm Ruby, by the way. Is there something wrong with the central heating? I feel very... It's okay, says Laura. We'll look after you. Thanks, says Ruby, and she adopts this really goofy grin. You know, you're really pretty. I think I love you. Right, thanks, says Laura awkwardly, watching Ruby nervously. Do you mind if I strip? Asks Ruby. No, says Laura. You go ahead. It's all right. Just be comfortable, okay? Yeah, says Ruby, and she starts shedding clothes. Everyone watches her strip in an awkward silence until at last the shoes and socks are removed, and Ruby crawls onto her hands and knees to nuzzle Laura. Oh, it's all right. There's a good girl, says Laura, profoundly embarrassed. Lucy tosses Laura a collar and leash. Bugger, okay, says Laura, as she catches the leash and secures the collar around Ruby's neck. Laura stares at Lucy. There had really fucking better be a cure. You're queen, says Lucy. See that one is found. For now, though, enjoy your windfall of bucks. Laura smiles sarcastically. Oh, it's a wonderful gift, being responsible for exploiting people who have been so profoundly damaged. Then Laura notices that Sally is wearing a collar and asks, why is she wearing a collar and still clothes? She's clever, says Lucy, and she's useful. Also, she's really quite cute, and, she volunteered to be myself. I'm keeping her out of trouble for the moment, and then I might get her tamed to get her Logicio on side. Anyway, this isn't her only revelation. No, asks Laura nervously. What else is there? Lucy frowns. Have you ever had a pet hamster? I ask because one of the lambs reacted to the sylph pills by shrinking, and that basically means you'll have to look after her like she's a pet hamster for a few weeks until she passes through the guinea pig, kitten and dog stages to be her old size again, and then the fun begins. So you'll be sticking around to help out? Asks Laura. Lucy frowns and shakes her head. If I can get a Logicio on board, I need to travel the world spreading the word that Laura Queen of Butts is coming to liberate them and protect them from the Logicios. Laura stares at her. But I'm not a queen, and I'm not a politician. I can't fight, and I'm crap at economics. I can't run an empire. I just talk about games about flying butts are funny because they are games about flying butts. Lucy nods. I know. If you were a real queen, I'd be your precious little sylph by now, or failing that, locked up in a dungeon. The thing is, though, that nobody actually cares about the qualifications of their rulers to rule. They care that they keep the food available and squash their enemies. There's still more I can do to help you, but you are gonna have to do this, yourself. You have food and drink now. Be a queen. Rule. The ginger woman's leash is tossed to the ground, and Lucy whispers in her ear, presumably convincing her to stay with Laura as Lucy and Sally then stride off out the room. Laura stares after Lucy as she leaves. Jim asks, what do we do now? Get Hilary, says Laura. Tell him he needs to set up a farm for the sylphs. Jim nods. One will see they are regularly bled, milked and carved. Exactly, says Laura. Meanwhile, I am going to have to grow the flock. Lucy was in the kitchen once again, going through the cupboards for glasses. Sally asked, what are you doing? I have a hunch, said Lucy. And if I'm right, we've got a long night ahead of us. Satisfied that she had enough glasses set aside, Lucy pulled out a big mixing bowl and placed a needle gun into it. Sally felt nervous now. Is this where you turn me into a sylph? Oh, heavens no, said Lucy. You're perfect just the way you are. This is if I'm wrong. Sally breathed a sigh of relief and asked, Is there anything I can do? Yeah, said Lucy. And she began to use a butter knife to pry the back of the needle gun. You can get me a pad of paper, a pencil, and a rubber, just in case my hunch is right. Sally nodded and left the room. As Lucy worked to try and dismantle the needle gun, she reflected that Sally really could run off this time, but Lucy didn't care. She had fulfilled her purpose as a control, and people would have food now. There was also the ever so slightly small fact that Lucy actually cared about Sally now and didn't want her staying on pain of death anyway. At last, the back came off the needle gun and out squirmed a small white albino squirrel. Lucy's face lit up with excitement and joy. Any luck? Asked Sally as she arrived with the promised items. Oh yes, said Sally as she removed the parts of the gun and stood back. This, my dear, is where it all began. The albino sylph squirrel, a biological machine whose excretions combine in different ways to make different kinds of sylph pills. Sally stared at the small furry creature in the mixing bowl and looked faintly disappointed. That's it? Lucy nodded and explained like a proud parent. The albino sylph squirrel lives off the energy generated by breathing in oxygen and water and reacting them together. It can also reproduce asexually, and that means we now have an infinite amount of sylph pills. I just need to find the right mix. Lucy said with a wry smile, So you need lambs, right? Lucy pulled Sally close and hugged her. Yes, my dear, I do need lambs. Men too, and see if you can't scavenge one of them empty infinity bags while you're at it. Somewhere convenient to put the ones who've been used. Sally smiled. You know I like it when you hug me. Lucy laughed and kissed Sally on the forehead. Go, my little minion. Find me some lambs. Sally saluted and left. Lucy stared at the albino sylph squirrel. Right, little buddy. This is not going to be on dignity for either of us, but dignity calls, I'm afraid. Then she proceeded to extract the different excretions into the glasses and label them. Laura was standing in a room full of naked women as she pulled a frozen woman out of a sack that reanimated when Sally entered. Sally coughs to politely attract attention. Laura notices and says cheerily, Oh, hello, come to join the farm. Just take off your clothes and get on your hands and knees. I'll have you harnessed up momentarily. Sally laughs. Actually, I'm here because Lucy wants me to fetch an empty sack and some lambs. Oh, says Laura, realising her misunderstanding. Then come in, mind the butts. Sally smiles at that as she proceeds to navigate her way through all the naked women. Laura pulls out another frozen woman. Sally arrives beside Laura and Laura asks, So what's your deal anyway? I know Lucy said you were being used for something, but how do you feel about this? Sally shrugs. Oh, you know what the job market's like, or was before the aliens turned up and made you queen. I figure being someone's pet cat isn't a bad life, and, well, I mean, you've seen her so tall and commanding. I just like doing what she says. Laura laughs. I get you. Just know that I am queen, and I can seize you from her and set you free if ever she gets to you too much. Now, I have an infinity bag for you. If you'll help me with this last one. Sally nods. Yes, ma'am. Together they remove the last woman, and Sally takes the empty sack. What are you doing, anyway? Asks Laura. Sally thinks for a second and says, Ever watched Doctor Who and the Silurians? Laura frowns. Only watched some of the new series, unfortunately. Well, never mind, says Sally, with a wave of her hand. Suffice to say, there is quite a bit of experimentation going on. Sally arrived back in the kitchen with the empty sack and a conga line of lambs. "Excellent, you're back," said Lucy. "I was ever so slightly worried that you had left my service." "Never," said Sally with utter sincerity. "And anyway, what would you do without me? Look, I've bought you your sack and your lambs." "Thank you," said Lucy. "When we're done, I'm giving you a fry-up and the biggest cuddle ever." Sally beamed. Lucy coughed and gestured to the glasses. "Cum, piss, shit, tears, spit, blood, vomit. The 7 base ingredients. What we need to do is find what the various different combinations mean. If all else fails, I'll get one of the cattle in here to act as refreshments, but hopefully we should make cattle before then." Sally stared at the glasses and felt queasy. "Rather them than me." "Right," said Lucy. "First, lamb, please." A woman steps up. Lucy injects her with 7 centiliters of shit. "Any reaction?" asks Lucy. "I guess I found you hot," says the woman. Lucy makes a note. "Next." Sally holds up the sack. "If you could just climb inside, please." 5 centiliters of cum, 1 centiliter of vomit, 1 centiliter of blood. A short, pretty woman steps up. Lucy injects her. Lucy watches as the woman grows a foot taller, as her muscles thicken and her arms and legs become hairier as her chest tightens up and she develops abs. "Okay," says Lucy. "I think I know what's happened here, but I need to check something. May I please look inside your pants?" The woman shrugs. "I came in here half expecting to be killed and dissected. Of course you can look." "Thank you," says Lucy, and she pulls down the woman's trousers. "Interesting. Next." Sally holds up the sack and the woman climbs in. 5 centiliters of shit, 1 centiliter of blood, 1 centiliter of spit. A tall woman steps up. Lucy injects her. The woman grows taller and her arms lengthen, the palms thickening and fingers shortening as fingernails toughen and extend. Her neck grows by 3 feet and the woman finds herself standing on 4 hoofed feet. Lucy smiles and writes down the result. "Sally, take her for a canter." The woman asks, "Canter?" Sally puts an arm around the woman's neck and leads her out the kitchen. 3 centiliters of vomit, 2 centiliters of blood, 2 centiliters of shit. A short man steps up. Lucy injects him. The man's arms grow ludicrously long and great flaps of skin develop between his arms and legs. Horns grow from his head and a tail extends from his arse. Lucy notes down the results and says, "Sally, take him outside. See if he can fly." Sally proceeds to lead the birdman outside. Sally proceeds to lead the birdman waddling out of the kitchen. 5 centiliters of cum, 1 centiliter of tears, 1 centiliter of blood. A tall, beefy guy steps up. Lucy injects him. The man shrinks by a foot, and his muscles shrivel as his hair burns up and his chest flattens while his pectorals inflate and his nipples extend outward to facilitate new pockets of fat. His voice is noticeably more high-pitched. "Sir, may I ask to see inside your pants?" asks Lucy. He winks. "No problem." Lucy takes a peek and confirms her suspicions, then writes down the results. She prepares 5 centiliters of cum, 1 centiliter of blood, and 1 centiliter of vomit. Then she injects the man. When she injects the man, his body returns to its prior state. "Sally, if you could just dig out the woman we..." asks Lucy. "Already on it," says Sally as she pulls out a woman who looks the spitting image of the man. Lucy injects the woman with 5 centiliters of cum, 1 centiliter of tears, and 1 centiliter of blood, and she returns to her prior state. Sally then holds open the sack and gestures. The man and the woman each shrug and climb in. "5 centiliters of blood, 1 centiliter of tears, 1 centiliter of shit." A brunette steps up. Lucy injects her. Skin flaps grow between the brunette's fingers and toes. A dorsal fin sprouts from her back. Her trousers burst as her legs merge to become one powerful tail. Her shoes explode as her feet join to become one powerful flipper. Gills sprout along her neck and she gasps for breath. Sally drops the sack over the brunette, freezing her in a snapshot of time. Lucy makes some notes. Sally says, I know, take her for a swim and report back. 6 centilitres of cum, 1 centilitre of blood. A young man strides up. Lucy injects him. The man smiles. Lucy frowns. See, I would have expected something from that. Do you mind if I hold you in reserve? I want to see if you grow tentacles or something. The man nods. That's fine. Where do you want me to sit? Lucy ponders and says, outside, on all fours, like a guard dog. The man nods and strides outside. Lucy makes a note, then asks, Sally, strip him, slowly. Say 1 item of clothing per lamb tested. Let me know if he raises so much of an eyebrow. Sally nods. Oh, and never tell him why, asks Lucy. Sally grins. 4 centilitres of blood, 1 centilitre of cum, 1 centilitre of tears, 1 centilitre of spit. A middle-aged man steps up. Lucy injects him. Lucy watches as he strips naked, crawls onto his hands and knees. Lucy makes some notes, then pulls out a collar, secures it around his neck, attaches a leash, and hands the leash to Sally. Sally sighs, I'll see that this lamb joins Laura's flock. 1 centilitre of cum, 1 centilitre of piss, 1 centilitre of shit, 1 centilitre of tears, 1 centilitre of spit, 1 centilitre of blood, 1 centilitre of vomit. A tall man steps up. Lucy injects him. The man starts to burn. Lucy says, Sally, hold the fort. Then Lucy proceeds to lead the burning man to the store cupboard. The plump woman holds the shrunken woman in her hands and asks, Can I get out now? Lucy picks up a memory gun, takes the charged round out of the chamber, pockets it, then loads a new blank round and holds the memory gun and hands the memory gun to the tall man. Press the button and keep holding the gun. I'll be back for you later. You'll be fine. Lucy picks up the shrunken woman and leaves the plump woman in the darkened cupboard with the burning man. Lucy returns to the kitchen, hands the shrunken woman to Lucy. Makes some notes, attaches a note to the charged memory gun clip, indicating who and what it's for. Then she hands the clip to Sally and says, Take these to Laura and tell her the memory gun is to be kept safe for when she grows full size. Lucy pulled herself out of her chair at 8 a.m. It had taken a while, but she and Sally had successfully tested all 49 basic combinations of the albino silk squirrel excretions. Sally asked, Can we sleep now? Yes, honey, we can sleep, said Lucy. Then she cried to the conga line coming to the kitchen, All your remaining lambs, fuck off! Get some rest. Lucy picked up the albino silk squirrel, the syringe and needle pack. Sally asked, What are you going to do with it? Lucy shrugged. I think my room has a safe. Sally nodded. Should be safe in there. They strode out the kitchen and Sally paused beside the naked man. What about him? Lucy frowned and pulled out a collar and leash. I'm only doing this because I care about you, okay? I'm not in the business of collaring strange men. Lucy secures the collar around his neck and they walk to her room. Lucy wakes up to a knock at the door. A svelte woman with blue hair answers the door. Ooh, room service, says the sleepy Lucy, and she pulls the woman inside. Have a strip over there. I just need to check my notes. Lucy flings the woman at the bed and proceeds to try and unlock her safe. The woman coughs. Lucy, it's me. You're quitting. I was calling to ask you for breakfast. Lucy turns and sees that, yes, the woman on the bed is indeed Laura Queen, Queen of Butts. She blushes. I very nearly turned you into cattle so I could milk and eat you. Sorry about that. It's fine, said Laura. Really, no harm, no foul. I am curious why your pet is naked on the floor and why there is a young man in the bathroom. Sylphs like to be naked, said Lucy, as if it explained everything. Right, said Laura. So I'm going to go now. Get dressed and join us, yeah? Lucy nodded. Will do. Laura hurriedly left the room. Sally stared at Lucy and parroted mockingly. Sylphs like to be naked. Lucy shrugged. Well, I could hardly explain that to thank you for being so loyal and obedient, I decided to help you achieve orgasm. She wouldn't understand. No, said Sally, I'm not sure I understand. Jim Sterling and Gavin Dunn sat either side of Her Majesty at a round table in the hotel dining hall. Lucy approached with Sally and the man. Jim stared as she took a seat beside Gavin. She's got a man now! How can she have a man? I told you, Jim, said Laura, the naked man in the bathroom. But I thought you meant she was having a threesome, not that he was a new pet, said Jim. Laura shrugged. She's good. Weird and kind of scary, but good. Gavin waved, hello, and shook Lucy's hand. I'm the bard. Nice to meet you and your pets. Excuse my friends. They insult video games for a living. Judgmental is what they do. Excuse me, said Jim. I only insult video games because they keep needing to be insulted. And I'm Queen, said Laura. So fuck you very much. Gavin laughed. Well, you get my point, though. Lucy sighed. I figured out how to turn someone into a horse, a bird, a fish person, a cow, and how to switch body genders easily. Then she got up to get some food. Laura stared. What? It's true, said Sally. We discovered it by accident last night. There's one to get the body of a man and one to get the body of a woman. Best part is it's incredibly cheap since it's produced naturally by the albino sylph squirrel and there's no upkeep. I like the horse myself. The three of them sat open-mouthed as they considered this. Finally, Gavin said, So does that mean you could ride your girlfriend in more ways than one? Lucy sat down, her plate piled high with food. She said, Honey, go get your breakfast, and Sally set off. Gavin asked, So does she only eat when you let her? Lucy shrugged. She's a sylph, it's what they do. Then she began shoveling food into her face. Laura looked concerned at the naked man with no food and said, You there, boy. I'm the Queen and I hereby order you to go get breakfast and eat it. The man nodded and strode off to get food. Laura said, You know, Lucy, you really should get that man some clothes. Lucy shrugged. Fine. Sally and the man arrived back with food. So, how did the farm go? Asked Sally as she ate. Oh, well, said Laura. That's what this is, actually. Hillary even found that if you ask nicely and give them a cuddle and a chance to rest and relax, they'll let you take internal organs. That's how we got the intestines of the sausages and black puddings. Jim and Gavin started to retch. Sally smirked. These sausages use internal organs from sylphs. By which you mean drugged women? Said Jim. I just want to make sure I'm getting that entirely right. Oh, they're fine, said Laura. The girls love it. Slice them open, cut the organ free, whip it out. They heal in moments and say they like it because they feel all tingly inside. Laura casually bit into a sausage. Gavin said, Well, I suppose so long as it's consensual and they're fine, it's okay. Better than normal sausages, actually. Yeah, but Gavin, this isn't consensual, said Jim. This is being drugged by a strange man in the street, then finding the idea of being dissected fun. Gavin shrugged. More consensual than farming. Laura pondered. Maybe we could make an entirely consensual sylph-meat farm. Just be completely open with the fact that we're going to drug them so they become obedient little lambs, then milk, bleed and dissect them every day to provide food for the population. And they would absolutely love it. Well, that would be better, said Gavin. Laura looked at Sally. What about you, dear? I know you and Lucy are committed to each other, but if I were to ask you to join the farm, would you be okay with it? Sally shrugged. Well, I already volunteered to be a lamb. Difference is, this time I'd know I I'd live and I'd have a great time. And there you go, said Laura. This meat is the best, most guilt-free meat there is. And it tastes good, said Gavin. I think I'm going to vomit, said Jim. So, what is on the agenda for today? Asked Laura. Well, I am going to see if there is some way we can make alcohol, said Gavin. I am going to drill my men to patrol the streets, said Jim. I am going to explain what I learned from my experiments last night, said Lucy, and I am getting this pretty one tamed because we need a Logisio on side. Sally blushed. Are you sure? Said Lucy. There are lots of other pretty women who could be used to bribe the Logisio. You don't have to part with Sally. Lucy shook her head. 100 million universes, remember? I've got a long road ahead of me. I can't afford to be distracted. A Logisio will know how to look after her, and it is why I put myself through this. Laura frowned. I could look after her. Now, Lucy stared at Laura. Somehow I doubt that is true, considering your girlfriend gets antsy at a little flirting. Saying, hey, here's a woman who is going to be our pet, probably won't fly. Laura followed Lucy and Sally out of the hotel and towards a makeshift stable. Sally led the way in and patted her horse proudly. I call her Princess. Lucy glared at Sally. What did I say about names? Sally stuck her tongue out at Lucy. Laura was silent in fascinated horror as she circled the horse with the head and chest of a human, but the strong legs and hoofs of a racehorse. What do you call this? The type of sylph, I mean. Thoroughbred, said Lucy. You'll want to get a breeding program so you can get some proper work animals. Laura stared into the thoroughbred's eyes. But she's so human, said Laura. She's not a work animal. Oh, she is, said Sally. She's still a person. She still has hopes and dreams and fears, but she is absolutely a work animal. Isn't that right, Princess? Yes, said the thoroughbred. Laura gasped in shock. Oh, please don't be scared, my queen, said the thoroughbred. I became alarmed knowing that I could be killed and dissected. I won't lie to you, this was a shock. But I think I can get used to this. This body has new hormones and new chemical rewards. I'm still adjusting. But I'd like it if I could listen to the radio. But I assure you that I can do this. I can be your workhorse. Laura frowned and threw her arms around the thoroughbred's neck, hugging her. Then she kissed her on the cheek and said, I will get you a radio, okay? Thank you. Princess, asked Sally, would you like to give your queen a ride to the river? You know the way, don't you? The thoroughbred smiled. Oh yes, my queen. Could I? Lucy looked instinctively to Lucy for verification. Then she climbed on the back of the thoroughbred. Self-driving horses. This is new. The thoroughbred laughed as she strolled out of the stable with Laura on her back and started building up to a canter. Laura clung to the thoroughbred's neck for dear life, but it was a thrill to feel the wind in her hair and experience the utter elation of her ride as she got to experience the fun part of being a thoroughbred sylph. Princess, Laura asked, how would you like to be my personal mount? Princess squeaked, oh my god, that would be so awesome! I mean, your queen! That means cavalry charges. Imagine us charging into enemy infantry, trampling all underfoot. We would be unstoppable! Laura laughed at the image. Then the laughter turned into a silent scream as she realized, oh yes, I am queen. I will have to butcher people on the field of battle. I'm going to be a murderer. Laura and Princess arrived at the riverbank to find Lucy and Sally patiently waiting for them. Laura asked, so how did you beat us? I'm fast, said Lucy. Laura studied Lucy. Tall, powerful. She could believe it, and that begged a question. Well, maybe I should make you into a thoroughbred sylph. Improve the breeding stock. Lucy grinned. I'm not sure your girlfriend would like it if I was naked on all fours and you were riding me. Laura burst out laughing at that and got off Princess. Sally frowned and said, "Actually, we beat you because Princess isn't used to being a horse yet, much less being ridden, and she doesn't have a saddle, so what meagre speed she does have will be limited to give you a comfortable ride." "It's alright," said Laura. "I'm not gonna ride your mistress, Sally." "More's the pity," muttered Lucy. Laura couldn't help smiling at that. "Anyway," said Lucy loudly. "Anyway," said Sally loudly, "allow me to introduce our mermaid. Say hello, Ariel." Laura watched as a tall, live woman with a strong, powerful tail where her legs should be, and flippers for hands, launched out of the water, breaching like a shark. Sally went to the water's edge and Laura followed. Sally patted the edge of the water, and Ariel poked her head out. "My queen," said Ariel, "how good it is to see you." Laura reached out to wipe Ariel's hair away from her face. "Oh, my poor dear, what happened to you?" Ariel shrugged. "I'm a mermaid now. Mermaids are cool." Then she gestured to her neck. "I've got these rad gills, you see? Means I can stay underwater indefinitely. But I still got a nose and mouth so I can speak and breathe air." Laura nodded. "I can see that, and that's really cool, but I have one question to ask, and I know it isn't yours to answer, but I need to, if you don't mind. Why? What's the point of this?" Ariel thought for a moment and said, "Well, I suppose I am a fish, and that means you can have a renewable supply of consenting sushi." Laura stared at the mermaid in astonishment. Lucy sighed. "Laura, you are supposed to be the fucking queen of the world. Mermaids aren't just cool, they're useful. The British Empire was founded on the strength of its navy. As much as I commend Ariel on her willingness to reside on your dinner plate, you could do so much more with her. The Americans tried to use dolphins to plant mines in World War II, for example. You could have an underwater army of mermaids whose sole job is to damage the hulls of ships, cause them to sink and loot the wreckage. Not to mention the fact that Ariel is by her nature a fantastic swimmer and could conceivably tow a raft of survivors or even stick them all in an infinity bag and swim them back to shore. She is a valuable resource. And she's pretty," said Sally. Lucy sighed. Laura chuckled. Ariel grinned. "Well, there you go. I am very useful, my queen." "Yes," said Laura. "I think you are, but let me know if ever your position irks you. I'll do everything I can to help you, including, if necessary, taking you up on your offer of sushi." "Thank you," said Ariel. Laura smiled, then turned to Lucy. "So where next?" Lucy shrugged. "Sally?" Sally laughed and strode off along the riverbank. "I might take Princess," said Lucy. "Quite right too," said Lucy. "I might take Princess," said Laura. "Quite right too," said Lucy. "Break the old girl in." Laura pulled herself on top of Princess and asked, "Can you possibly follow Lucy and Sally?" "At once, my queen," said Princess as she started following the pair. "She wants you, you know," said Sally. Lucy shook her head. "Nah, she's got a girlfriend." Sally tutted. "How can you be so dumb to this? You're my mistress. You're supposed to be an expert on stilts, yet you really don't see it." "See what?" said Lucy with a laugh. "We flirt, but that's all it is. Just two strangers who think each other attractive having a flirt." "She likes it when you're in control," said Sally. "You make the hard decisions. You turn people into horses and mermaids, and you solve the food situations. You get things done. She likes that. How could she not?" Lucy sighed. "But that's not a relationship. That's a professional dynamic." "And you think she knows that?" asked Sally. You turn up out of nowhere, start flirting with her, take charge, seduce women to be yours at the drop of a hat, and you seriously think she hasn't assumed she's as much yourself as I am?" Lucy laughed. "She doesn't want me to be her owner." "Maybe not, but there is some definite unresolved taming tension there. And she wants you to stay. My advice is be ready and be careful. I know you have to go. I understand your mission, but she doesn't want the responsibility of making the hard decisions. She wants to be the critic admiring all the buts," said Sally. Lucy snorted. Laura enjoyed the view and the ride. Princess was explaining how she worked as a cashier at Tesco. They arrived at a clearing where a small figure sat. "Welcome," Sally boomed, "to QraHrkpZeFs." Laura laughed. Princess snorted. Lucy rolled her eyes. "I would dismount if I were you," said Lucy. "I don't want to spook him." Princess slowed to a stop so Laura could get off. "Now he's quite shy," said Sally. "He's not used to being looked at, so give him his personal space." Laura nodded. "Actually, I'm surprised anyone is handling the transformation well." Lucy sighed. "Men are used to ruling the world. To be a curiosity others want to touch is not normal for them." Laura nodded silently. They approached the figure, and Laura could see now that it was like an old man in an anorak holding 2 ski poles, but there were horns extending from his head. Sally strode on ahead and announced, Cherry, there's some people to see you." The pterodactyl turned to Sally's voice and saw Laura and Lucy approach. "Sally? I thought you'd never return. Who are these?" Sally said, "The blonde one is my owner. I'm sort of her pet. It's a long story. The one with the blue hair is your queen, Laura." "Oh," said the pterodactyl, and he bowed his head as the queen approached. "I had no idea royalty would be visiting. Apologies for my appearance." "It's quite all right," said Laura. "After all, you became this because of me." The pterodactyl laughed. "My dear queen, this is no sentence. I can fly. I've been granted a great gift. Come, you must let me show you." "I'm not entirely sure it's safe," said Laura. "I understand," said the pterodactyl. "We cannot risk hurting royalty, but you do deserve a demonstration." Sally grinned and started to walk round to the pterodactyl's back. Lucy balked. "Actually, Laura, I think it's perfectly safe. Why don't you ride?" Sally glared at Lucy. Laura looked between the two of them and said, "Actually, Laura has a point. If it's safe enough for Sally, it's safe enough for me." Sally trudged back towards Lucy. Lucy approached the pterodactyl, climbed onto his back, gripped onto his horns and said, "Okay, Cherry, let's do a nice gentle takeoff and landing, shall we?" "Trust me, my queen," said the pterodactyl, and he started flapping his wings. Lucy picked Sally up and carried her as she sprinted towards Princess. The pterodactyl hopped, skipped, and jumped. His wings were supporting him now as he sprinted towards the ground, increasing the airflow over his wings, meaning he was encumbered less and less. He could run faster and fly higher until takeoff. Laura gasped as they left terra firma, and he banked in the air, rising ever higher as he followed the course of the river. "Wow," said Laura. "Yup," said the pterodactyl, "and this is why I will only ever be thankful for the change I have undergone. I mean, I am a man who can fly without a machine." Laura nodded. It was truly breathtaking. "Thank you, Cherry. You are a valuable asset to the Empire." Cherry laughed. "I know. Can you just imagine a squadron of us, perhaps with gunners on board to drop bombs or spy on enemy settlements? Highness, you have a Royal Air Force, and without a single fossil fuel." And there it was. A reminder that being queen didn't just mean a fancy crown, servants and riches. It also meant leading people into bloody battles. It meant war. It meant death. It meant an endless river of blood on her conscience. "Yeah," she said half-heartedly. "That's amazing." Cherry sighed. "The weight of command getting to your mum?" "No," said Laura, just sinking in. "Take us down, if you please." "Yes, ma'am," cried Cherry, and he began to bank to the left, heading along the river as he descended. Laura watched the reflection in the water, and she wondered how she'd look after she defeated the Logicios, because she would have to defeat the Logicios. Afterwards, when the United Civilizations were formed, then Laura could step back and allow democracy to return, but until the Logicios were defeated, she could not allow dissent and infighting. She had to be queen of the world. Cherry landed by gliding into land and riding along until the momentum wore off. Laura got off, thanked him, and swore she would post a garrison to look after him and grow his squadron. Then she approached Lucy and stared right in her eyes. "There is just one last thing I need to see. You said you found a way to change the gender of someone's body." Lucy stared right back at Laura. She seemed different, tougher, more resolute. "Yeah, I know the mixtures. Why do you want to know?" Laura smiled a predatory smile. "Because if I say Queen Laura has the cure for body dysphoria, and it doesn't change your gender identity, it changes your body to suit your identity, then I will have a lot more willing soldiers." Lucy nodded. "Well, I don't exactly have my equipment here, but I'll mix up a couple of batches and we can test them out at dinner." Lucy raised an eyebrow. "Dinner? Are you sure your pet will be okay with that?" "Oh, I'm gonna trade her in for a Logicio the moment we get back, actually," said Lucy. "So dinner at 8, unless your girlfriend has an issue." Laura shrugged. "Well, you know I am Queen. I think she can stomach dinner." Lucy smiles. "Excellent. I look forward to it." "Likewise," said Laura laconically. Enjoy the ride back, won't you?" said Lucy. "And you, the quiet romantic stroll with your pet," said Laura. Laura strode past and pulled herself on top of Princess. Then she rode off into the distance. "What was that about?" asked Sally. "I don't know," said Lucy, "but it's exciting, isn't it?" "Now come on, let's get you properly tamed." "Okay," said Sally, as she started walking with Lucy back to the hotel. "But I want lots of toys, you understand, and you better get me kibble." Lucy laughed. "Okay, you can have kibble." Lucy entered the prisoner's cell with a tall ginger woman. "Is that the man?" asked the ginger woman. "Yes," said Lucy. "That is the man who can bend reality to his will." "Oh," said the ginger woman, and then she smiled. "He's quite cute, actually." The ginger woman kissed Lucy. Lucy held her back. "Amy, are you sure you want to do this?" "Yes," said Amy enthusiastically. "Let's have a really wild time." The prisoner was paying attention now. Lucy kissed Amy on the lips. Amy kissed Lucy back. They started snogging, their tongues exploring each other's teeth as their hands undressed each other. Lucy was being very deliberate in her actions, exposing Amy's rear. Amy was lost to the lust, and her attempts to pull Lucy's shirt off failed. Lucy pulled away. She pulled Amy's shirt and bra off her body before continuing to snog her. Amy pulled away and turned to remove her shoes, as Lucy sucked at her neck and explored the contours of her body. As Amy kicked off her shoes and socks, Lucy began stimulating her where it counts. Amy rolled back onto her front and mounted Lucy. Lucy's deft fingers worked miracles as she kissed and sucked at the beautiful naked woman breathing heavily on top of her. At last Amy climaxed in blissful ecstasy. Lucy's left hand jabbed a needle into her right butt cheek and injected 4 centiliters of blood, 1 centiliter of cum, 1 centiliter of tears, and 1 centiliter of spit. Amy cried, "Thank you!" Lucy tossed the spent syringe away and continued kissing Amy as she turned. After 10 seconds, Lucy sucked at Amy's neck and bit down on her jugular, tearing it open. Lucy drank greedily and plunged a knife into Amy's chest. Lucy carved a circle out of Amy's chest, then pulled out Amy's still beating heart and cut each of the veins and arteries before carefully eating it bite by bite and swallowing it down. Lucy whispered, "On the floor, there's a good girl." Amy climbed off the bench and stood on all fours between the prisoner and Lucy. Sally ran up with a gas-powered stove, a couple of plates, a spatula, a frying pan, and a rather large knife. She positioned the stove behind Amy and left the plates, frying pan, and spatula there as she went to cut the prisoner free. "Nice show," said the Logicio. "I assume it was all arranged beforehand." "Entirely," said Lucy, with a smile, as she proceeded to milk Amy to get some fat for the pan. "Slice of arse, or are you more of a breast man?" Arse is good, said the logician. Excellent, said Lucy as she carved Amy's arse and fried the slices in her milk. I do like a bit of arse myself. I've been thinking of writing a book. The Big Book of Arses. I imagine it would sell well, said the Logicio as she watched Lucy fry Amy's arse. The question is, said Lucy as she plated up the fried arse cheeks, will you be in that book? The Logicio smirked. No carrot without a stick, right? Exactly, said Lucy before biting into Amy's arse. The Logicio chewed Amy's arse silently before sizing up Lucy and Sally. The question is, how much carrot are you willing to give me? We both know this was just an appetizer. You're good, said Lucy, which is exactly why I made a deal. You see, I promised these people I would help them in any way I can. Now, I can trust you about half as far as I can throw you. But I need your knowledge, and I need your second. We could play good cop, bad cop, or you could be my chauffeur as I inspire rebellion and loyalty to Laura Queen of Buds. It could take months. The Logicio cackled. Months of you depending on me and me with my freedom and my Saga. You'd be putty in my hands. Lucy stared into Logicio's eyes. I will be entirely at your mercy. The Logicio sat back smiling. I want the girl. What girl? Asked Lucy. The little dyke who was waiting patiently for you to finish fucking dinner, said the Logicio. She isn't on offer, said Lucy, tranquil fury in her voice. I want her to burn, said the Logicio, and I want her to be myself, to do as I wish. Lucy shook her head. What's the matter? Do you not like blondes? I can dye my hair. I want her, and I want you, said Lord Jesio, and I want a girl in every port. Lucy spat, vicious cunt. The Logicio sat back, content and smug. What was it you wanted to know? How to use a quantum oscillator, said Lucy reluctantly. I assume you have a memory gun, said the Logicio. Lucy nodded and handed over the memory gun. The Logicio grinned and loaded a cartridge with the requisite knowledge. The Logicio pointed the gun right between Lucy's eyes. Lucy shut her eyes. The gun fired. The Logicio cackled. Lucy opened her eyes. The Logicio handed Lucy her memory gun back. Go get your girl's memories. All of them. The moment you go, I burn her. Lucy was shaking as she staggered over to Sally. Sally took the primed memory gun and charged up the primed memory gun round and charged up. Sally took the primed memory gun and charged up a memory gun round with an entire life's worth of memories. There were tears running down Lucy's face as she kissed Sally goodbye. The Logicio reached a finger into his arse and pulled out an infinity bag. In it he found a spare suit, including memory gun, quantum oscillator, sylph pills, collars, and bikinis. Sally watched as the Logicio changed into his spare suit, pulled out a sylph pill and held it before her so he could gloat. I'm going to flay the skin off your precious lover, and she is going to love it. Sally opened her palm and accepted the sylph pill. She crunched it and swallowed. Then she started to feel just a little warm. Lucy entered the restaurant in a glamorous little black dress. Laura wore her usual casual wear, and Eve looked as if she hadn't bothered at all. You're dressed very smartly, said Laura, admiring Lucy's figure in the dress. Thanks, said Lucy. I spotted someone who would make the perfect thoroughbred, and they so very kindly let me have their dress. Where are we sitting? Follow me, said Eve. The trio headed to a secluded table for four, and Lucy let Laura decide where to sit before sitting opposite, with her back to the restaurant, as it turned out. The waiter arrived and they ordered drinks. As they waited, Laura asked, How did your meeting with the Logicio go? Oh, he was putty in my hands, said Lucy. I played him like a violin. I did, and Sally is getting tamed as we speak. Good, said Laura honestly, and she smiled warmly at Lucy. The drinks arrived, and a pint of fresh blood for the lady in the little black dress, said the waiter. Laura stared. You ordered blood? Eve scowled. You're just showing off now, aren't you? Lucy shook her head. Actually, blood is now a more renewable resource than water, and sylph blood tastes fantastic. Plus, it's the blood of an immortal. It's good for you. Well, drink it then, said Eve. Bottoms up, said Lucy, and she downed a quarter of it, the blood forming a red moustache on her upper lip. Wow, said Eve. Laura stared at the pint of blood. Eve caught Laura's gaze and said, No, you are not drinking blood. But it's a weird thing, said Laura. I can't not try the weird thing. Eve said, You can't. It's blood from people. It's all right, said Lucy. It's not going to turn you into a vampire or anything. I'm trying the weird thing, said Laura, and she reached forward, lifted up Lucy's pint glass and took a large gulp. It's nice, quite viscous, like cough syrup, but nice. A moment later, she said, Quite the kick, too. Well, sylph's blood contains all kinds of stimulants to make them feel good about being eaten and drunk. When you drink their blood, you experience a tiny fraction of their pleasure, said Lucy. Laura had another gulp. Yeah, I can tell this is good shit. Lucy chuckled at that. Eve took the glass. Well, okay then, I'm gonna have to try it now. Eve took a tiny sip. It's heaven. Sheer, liquid heaven. Now, Laura laughed. The waiter arrived. What would you like to eat? I'll have the breasts and ribs combo with sausages and bacon, said Lucy. I'll have the lasagna, said Laura. Salad for me, thanks, said Eve. Oh, and a pint of blood for me, said Laura. Actually, a half pint for me, said Eve. And you. Half, and you. Naked, or as good as. And after you've let them know our orders, perhaps when you're delivering our blood, asked Lucy. Laura and Eve stared at Lucy. The waiter swallowed it and said, kind of needed in the restaurant, and, well, I quite like living and not being a farm animal. It's okay, said Lucy. I promise. I will have you back in one piece to continue your shift. The waiter frowned, then said, Okay, but please be gentle. Lucy nodded. I promise. The waiter left to deliver the order. You're getting a reputation, said Laura. Lucy laughed. The waiter arrived with the drinks, and he wore nothing but his boxer shorts. I do like a place with quick table service, said Eve. The waiter smiled awkwardly and handed Laura and Eve their drinks. Then he sat down beside Lucy. So, what do you want to do with me? He asked. Be still and shut up, said Lucy. You are a prop. Laura clicked her fingers as the penny dropped. This is a demonstration, isn't it? Yes, said Lucy with a smile. Demonstration of what? Asked Eve. This, said Laura. This, said Lucy, as she injected 5 centilitres of cum, 1 centilitre of tears, and 1 centilitre of blood into the waiter. Laura and Eve watched as the tall, skinny waiter became a slightly shorter and skinnier waitress. You've gone and fucking done it, said Laura. The op in a syringe. Oh, this is better than the op, said Lucy. Complete genetic rewrite, and with all the same memories. Thanks to my handy-dandy formula, this man could now be a mother if he wanted to. The waiter's face contorted in fear. And of course, said Lucy, it is completely reversible by way of the counterpart solution. She hit the man with 5 centilitres of cum, 1 centilitre of vomit, and 1 centilitre of blood. His body returned to the way he had it before. Eve asked, What happens if you go through the change when you're pregnant? Lucy shot a curious glance at Laura. My advice would be don't risk finding out. Eve sighed. Probably quite a good answer, that. Anyway, said Lucy, I think I'd better escort this kind gentleman to his clothes. I'll just leave these spare M to F syringes lying around. Make sure nobody takes them. Of course, said Laura. Brownie's honour, said Eve. Lucy and the waiter left the table. Lucy returned to find a syringe missing and quite deliberately didn't mention it as she packed away the remaining syringe. So, what did you think of the demonstration? Asked Lucy casually. Oh, fantastic, said Laura. That thing's going to improve a lot of people's lives, said Eve. Lucy nodded. Quite remarkable, really. I was actually looking for a way to make, well, the one Sally's getting done. Actually, that reminds me, that poor woman has been stuck in that cupboard for 2 days now. I'll have her picked up in the morning, said Laura. She can choose whether she wants to be a mermaid, a horse, or a pterodactyl. Lucy smirked. You know, you're getting better at this, Queen Lark. You really think so? Asked Laura. We wouldn't be having dinner now if you weren't, said Lucy. Actually, we're having dinner now because I love my Laura, and I know that she would be distraught if she did not get a chance to properly see your butt before you go. So just to let you know, when we're finished here, Laura here is going to strip you naked, and I am going to walk you to our room on a leash, said Eve. Well, that's a pleasant surprise, said Lucy. I trust you can actually take orders and not just give them, said Eve pointedly. Oh, I think I can take orders from a queen, said Lucy with a wry smile. Laura blushed. The waiter, dressed again, arrived with the food. Lucy dug into her food with gusto, and Laura and Eve decided to leave the conversation until after food had been shoveled into people's mouths. The waiter arrived to take away their plates and asked, Will you be having any sweets? Yes, please, said Laura. 2 vanilla ice creams and a latte. The waiter nodded and left with the plates. Now, said Laura, the fun begins. Lucy swallowed nervously. Laura scooted past Eve to sit beside Lucy. Lucy asked, So this is really happening? Eve nodded. I made a promise to Laura. I intend to stick to it. Of course, you can say no. Lucy smiled. So what's the game plan here, Laura? You eat your ice cream, said Laura. I have my fun. Okay, said Lucy. I can work with that. The waiter arrived with the ice cream and desserts. So, why have you changed places? There's going to be a show, said Laura. You're free to watch. The waiter practically ran away from the table. And begin, said Eve. Lucy picked up her spoon, dug into her ice cream, and pulled a sliver free. She studied the ice cream for a moment, then ate it. Laura pulled down the zip of Lucy's little black dress. Laura took another spoonful of ice cream. Laura pulled Lucy's dress free of her ass. Lucy took another spoonful of ice cream. Laura pulled Lucy's dress up over her head and tossed it to Eve. Lucy took another spoonful of ice cream. Laura unfastened the clip on Lucy's bra and lifted it up over her head before once again tossing it to Eve. Lucy asked, Are you going to eat your ice cream? Yes, said Laura, but I want to strip you first. Lucy sighed. It'll melt. I won't. Eve sipped her coffee and enjoyed the show. Laura said, Bit early to be saying that. Lucy had another scoop of ice cream. Laura pulled Lucy's knickers down to her knees. Lucy enjoyed another scoop of ice cream. Laura got off her chair and crawled under the table. Lucy sighed as she ate another scoop of ice cream. Laura pulled Lucy's shoes off her feet. Lucy stared at Laura's uneaten, slowly melting ice cream and sighed. Laura pulled Lucy's stockings off her feet. Lucy said, I'm eating your ice cream. No, cried Laura, and she got back in her seat and started furiously eating her ice cream. Lucy snorted. This is my ice cream, said Laura petulantly, before a wave of cold hit the brain. Ow! Freaking freezing! Lucy said, I have faced robots and gods. I have stared down logicios and been shot. I have liberated women from concentration camps and men from re-education centres. I have stormed fortresses and liberated prisoners, and now I am getting a dressing down by a queen who has yet to grasp that cold things need to be enjoyed with care. Laura said, Yeah, well, your knickers are nearly off. Eve snorted with laughter. Lucy looked at Laura. One kiss? No, said Laura. You are my sylph. It wouldn't be right. Then Laura crawled back under the table and pulled Lucy's knickers off. When Laura emerged, it was with a triumphant smile on her face. Eve pulled a collar and leash out of her purse. Now Lucy's blood started racing. Eve secured the collar round Lucy's neck and the leash to the collar. "Finish your ice cream, there's a good girl," said Eve. When the waiter arrived with the bill, Laura said, "I'm Queen, so I'm not paying." The waiter noticed that the woman who had casually changed his gender for demonstration purposes was now naked on the floor, was now naked on the end of a leash, and decided he would not fight this one. Laura and Eve led Lucy to their bedroom. The next morning, Lucy stood posing as Laura filmed her with her smartphone. "Oh yeah, that is some great butt action." Lucy laughed. "You know, Laura, you are delightfully absurd. You're like the Mighty Boosh meets Men Behaving Badly meets Boudica meets Jesus Christ." "Which is saying something considering you've met actual God," said Laura, with more than a note of suspicion in her voice. Lucy turned around and spread her legs wide. "I mean, you're moral. You're insane, dirty, commanding, and far more moral than a guy who decides to turn up in the last act to bring about the apocalypse." Laura laughs. "I'll have to put that on the propaganda. The prophet of the Lord says more moral than Jesus." Lucy smirks. The door slams shut. Eve coughs. "And now for the close-up," says Laura, as she gets up off the bed and starts moving towards Lucy. Eve silently reveals a leather jacket, jeans, and sturdy walking boots. Lucy grins and gives her a thumbs up. "I wish you could stay," said Laura, as her camera leered at Lucy's breasts. "So do I," said Lucy. "I always do. Unfortunately, the world is a big place, and you and I need to help you by spreading the message of Laura, Queen of Butts, everywhere. Plus, 100 million universes need my help." Laura said, "We'll come and visit, yeah? When peace has been made." Lucy nodded. "Oh, I am definitely coming back. Apart from anything else, I need to tell your kids about the time Mummy flew." Laura said curiously, "Kids?" "Well," said Lucy, "nothing to stop you becoming a male for conception and reverting to female afterwards. Just a thought." Eve looked at Laura in a new light. "I better go," said Lucy. "I have one more miracle to perform." Gavin was rocking out on stage with one of his favourite songs. He reached the crescendo and the crowd cheered. He bowed and left the stage. He went to his dressing room and found Lucy reclining in a chair with his girlfriend, waiting on her lap. "I got bored," explained Lucy. "Don't worry, she's not drunk or anything. I'm just that good." Gavin stared. "Okay, this has to be a wind-up." "Told you he wouldn't fall for it," said Gavin's girlfriend. Lucy sighed. "Fine, get dressed or not. I don't know what you do after your gigs, is it?" Gavin's girlfriend sheepishly retreated to a corner to get dressed. Gavin was furious. "You realise I want to punch you now?" Lucy laughed. "I really wouldn't recommend it. Anyway, I came here to give you a gift." "The gift of rage?" asked Gavin. Lucy held up a quantum oscillator and let the steel in her voice glimmer. "Someone I care about a great deal had to burn so I could get this knowledge to you. I had to copy their entire life's memories, then shoot myself with the copy so I could extract the knowledge from them." Gavin was mollified. It made sense. Lucy had spooked him so he would understand what she felt. "What is it then?" Lucy shrugged. "In simple terms, it vibrates the strings of logic that decide reality in universes. What this means, though, is that you are a wizard, Gavin." Gavin took the small metal wand as Lucy explained. "With this wand, you can move things at a distance, rewrite people's minds, create wormholes and time tunnels. You can create life from dust and render entire planets unto dust. With this wand and the knowledge to wield it, you can become as powerful as a god." "Then why give it to me?" asked Gavin. "Jim's in charge of security and Laura's Queen. They deserve it more than me. I'm just a morale officer." "And that is exactly why you should take it," said Lucy. "With a weapon this powerful, even Laura might break reality for the greater good. But you have an important but pacifistic job. You stop rebellion and revolution by making the people happy. You can learn to use this as a tool for good, and if the time comes when Laura needs a magical nuke on her side, then her faithful bard will have the training and experience to remain calm and not do more than is absolutely necessary. So what happens then? Asked Gavin. Lucy smiled and shot Gavin right in the eyes. Gavin blinked. Well, that was weird. By the way, said Lucy, it also has a vibrate setting. And with that, Lucy left the room. Gavin held the small metallic wand and looked at his naked girlfriend with interest and curiosity as an idea occurred to him. Lucy found Jim enjoying a pint of blood with ribs, breast, rump steak and bacon. Oh, you're here, said Jim. Come to turn me into a toad or something? Actually, I'm here to say goodbye, said Lucy. Jim felt like a dick now. Oh, well, sorry about that. I know we haven't exactly got on because you are fucking terrifying, but you have helped the Queendom no end. I just wish we had more carbohydrates in our diet. Lucy said, yeah, I was thinking about that. You've got silts, right? And you can obviously harvest organs and bones from them. Yeah, said Jim, hence my lunch. And Heathrow Airport is standing disabused just nearby, said Lucy. Equip work parties with basic bone tools and start chipping away at it. Until you make headway, you can grow basic crops in the shit the silts produce. Yeah, said Jim, chewing on a bit of steak. Shit is fertilizer after all, isn't it? Exactly, my good man, said Lucy. Well, cheers for that. I'll get work on it right away, said Jim. But I'm guessing you didn't just come here to say that. No, said Lucy. I came here to warn you that every universe has a Farshnook. What with all the Logicios and Silts running around, the Farshnook of this universe is bound to be active, and you have to be ready. How? Asked Jim. The Farshnook is a weapon, said Lucy. If you keep him well fed and satisfy his addiction to taming women, he can be aimed to do your bidding and prove a valuable asset. But you must always be able to kill him, and whatever you do, do not let him talk to Laura. Laura is a strong woman, but that only attracts the Farshnook more. He will worm his way under her skin and tame her. You have to prevent that. Jim nodded. Scout's honor. Swear to the gods, Jim. This needs to be written into your soul so the Farshnook will see it and concentrate on you, said Lucy. Jim raised the four fingers of his right hand to his head and said, I, Jim fucking Sterlingson, do hereby decree that I will do anything to prevent Laura, Queen of Butts, being tamed by the Farshnook. And if I should fail, may I be rendered unto shit by the great gods of reality. Thank you, said Lucy, and she kissed Jim on the cheek before leaving. Jim stared as the feeling of Lucy's lips lingered on his cheek, wondering if he had missed a golden opportunity. And then he shrugged and ate some breast. Lucy entered the Logicio's prison cell to find a mahogany door standing in the middle of the room. The Logicio opened the door, and Lucy saw a large Art Deco room beyond with a mushroom-shaped console. Come into my seg hat, said the Logicio. Said the spider to the fly, said Lucy. The Logicio laughed and held up a hamster cage. Lucy saw the small naked figure of Sally contained within. She entered the seg hat. The mahogany door closed, and with a great stammering shh, it faded from existence. And there, ladies and gentlemen, as Lucy leaves the story, I am going to call it a part there because I have run out of drink. I need to kind of have a bit of a break before recording the last part of the story. But I hope you have enjoyed it so far. Hi. Don't forget to like, comment, favourite, and subscribe. And also, I think austerity is bullshit. I think that we need a universal basic income, and we need to stop investing in London.